So right now I'd like to introduce
Joanna Driscoll.
Joanna Driscoll.
Driscoll.
Very nice of you to come on. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And Samantha Schmidt, who is going to get, Sam, who is going to get special mention before we even begin as the intrepid person. For months and months now, Sam has done great work behind the camera while I sat in front of it and cried. And she's given me good direction at times, and has always done a great job with the camera and her video work. So thank you very much, Sam, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah. I was practically forced to, so.
Not by me.
Oh, of course not.
So we talked about this situation a little bit before we went on, but this is absolutely not a rehearsed conversation like you sometimes get in talk shows. But I've been concerned for a long time. Well, for several months now. Now that we've had this war and we've had this occupation for 4 years, right? And people have gotten more and more fed up, and they sort of unelected the government last year. Tried to put a whole bunch of new people in office last year. The situation changed, and what was the result? I mean, the result was we got an escalation called a surge. And it seems like, people are sort of accepting that and allowing it time, and it's not working, but we seem sort of stuck here with the same kind of situation over and over again, even though lots of people have expressed the desire for change, and lots of people have been unelected. Especially in this area, two Congress people, one just north of us and one just south of us. They unelected the Republican, elected Democrats who basically to change the status of the war and the occupation, and nothing happens.
The Democrats, I think, are too status quo to do anything too radical. And at this point, it would seem that ending the war would be a very radical idea. It doesn't seem that the Democrats have the kind of
Chutzpah.
Chutzpah, yeah, I was going to say internal fortitude, but yeah, chutzpah, exactly. I mean, they're not able to do it. It doesn't seem, because they're all part of the same thing. I mean, they're all sort of being financed by one corporation or another. They all seem to have the same interest in mind. So I don't know that they actually have the moral wherewithal to even do it, because they're all sort of in bed together, aren't they?
But they said they wanted to. I mean, last year at this time, and all the way through from July until
But when it comes right down
October,
to it, if they're going to be accused of not supporting the troops, right? The administration still has this power over us that if we don't agree with what they're doing, or we try to bring the troops home somehow, or we stop funding the troops, that we are anti-American, and so the Democrats are still buying into that. They're still being bullied by that idea.
And what they said at election time doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do anything once they get elected, because once they get elected, it's a different story. And I'd say a lot of them did get elected because of what they said.
They just couldn't do it when it really came down to it, because they were being accused, it came down to them not funding the troops, right? I mean, that's when they modified their proposal and didn't put any time limits on anything, and that has to do with the fact that they're afraid of looking unpatriotic. But is this what patriotism means? Is war patriotic? That's what we've been reduced to?
Oh, yeah, well, good question. Good question. Now, some of this, it seems to me, some of this is political calculation as much as it is, like, I don't know, cowardice or well, they really are exactly like the other guys anyway, or close enough that it, in an issue like this, it doesn't matter. There's a political calculation maybe that the more that this war fails, And the more that, and it's clearly identified as a Republican war. Still, I mean, the Democrats haven't been forced to take full responsibility for it yet, although that's sort of inching forward as time goes on, and they're in charge of Congress and they still do nothing. But there's this political calculation about the presidential race next year that, the more this thing drags on and fails and continues to look bad, it really hurts the Republicans more than it could possibly ever hurt the Democrats. And so maybe they'll hang on to Congress and take the White House too. Is it?
Yeah, so what if they do? So what if Hillary gets in there? Hillary, who made friends with Rupert Murdoch, and Hillary, who signed on to the war, and Hillary, who signed on to the Patriot Act without even reading it, right? So, so what does it matter if they get in? We don't need any more Democrats. They're a non-party as far as I'm concerned.
I second that motion.
I mean, not to be negative, but that's kind of how I feel. I don't feel like there's anything fresh coming. They're too status quo. They're too provincial. Nothing is going to change with them. I don't think so.
They look like they take the high road, but they really don't. They take the low road.
Yeah,
they take the manners and and they could have won the last election if they'd just been a little bit more aggressive, but they didn't. It's really the problem with that party, really. It's getting us nowhere.
Well, they're afraid to be marginalized to the left. So they keep taking this middle path, and it's an unenlightened path as far as I'm concerned.
But there are presidential candidates among the Democrats who are opposed to this war.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Nancy Pelosi's opposed to the war too, isn't she? What's happening there? Not that much.
Oh yeah, well, she's not running for president, right?
No, she's not, but she's close to the seat, isn't she?
She's in the leadership of the,
That's right.
of the Congress.
That's right. So, and she was vehemently opposed to the war,
Yeah.
and supporting the middle class and all that, and whatever. We're not going to get any truth from them. I hate to say that, whatever, but that's sort of how I'm feeling about the whole, just all of it. Really, at this point, I almost want to just, plant my flowers and not worry so much. It just seems way bigger than all of us. I don't know even what to do about it. We've been to so many marches, my husband and I. We actually saw Sam and her mom in New York for that first one before the war.
March 15th, yeah.
I had so much hope then, I did. I remember it was like one of the most magical moments, running into you guys on the street that day. It was incredible. I mean, I knew you were going to be there, but we weren't there together. And I remember feeling like we could do something, and they wouldn't let us on the street, and then suddenly we had to be on the street because there were so many people that they couldn't contain us in the little boxes that they had set up for people, And it was the largest day of global protest ever in human history, and we went in anyway. So, in the last protest that we went to in Washington, I was so disillusioned. I mean, there was no cohesive message. Some people have signs about Che Guevara, and other people have signs about healthcare, and, gay rights, and this and that, and they're all worthy. It's not that these are not worthy things to be, fighting for or talking about. But there's no single message. And then at the end of it, there was litter all over the streets. So I'm thinking, how can you write signs about climate change and the environment and leave your stupid signs in the streets? What is that?
Personal responsibility.
Yeah.
And my mom says personal responsibility, and that's really what it comes down to right now. Because at this moment, if we wanted to stop the war, and March 15th was great, and it was beautiful, and I was like thinking, wow, I get to experience the second 60s, and this is my generation, and how groovy is that? But it never happened because the people are so vehemently opposed to the war, but they're not vehement enough. This huge percentage of our population hates the war, wants it over, and they're not doing anything except bitching in front of public access television.
I just signed a petition yesterday on Move On. I'll have you know tonight.
That's good.
Move on, schmove on.
Move on, schmove on. Well, what are we going to do? I mean, what is that? I write